Hey guys, I'm here at Trek Battersea for the launch of the new Trek Madone, and we've got some cool little stuff to look at. I'm also going to be referring to the old Gen 7 one, so I'm going to be looking at that one and then comparing the tube and frame shapes to the brand new one. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get straight into the main event here, because the first thing, as they're saying here, 77 seconds over the previous Amonda, which is some claim, I'm going to say. I can't say whether that's true or not. And then, of course, 320 grams lighter than the previous Madone. And the previous Madone, I've got my review coming out later this week of this generation, and it is a heavy bike. So if they fix that here, 320 grams is a big chunk of weight, but is that going to be enough to make it feel like a light bike? The way that I think they're going here is definitely the specialized way, merging the Amonda and the Madone together. I think that's the right way forward. Get the best of both worlds, one bike to do everything. I promise it's better. So first change, let's get into those much smaller frame shapes. So of course we've got a little bit less depth here. I'm going to film the other bike, so I'm going to overlay that over the top. The second thing I've noticed is actually it's much more squared off here. Let me try and show you on this bike, because it's a lot flatter on this section. Now you'd think normally more of a pointed edge towards the front here would be better, but obviously the aerodynamics in Trek's wind tunnel does not suggest that. You can really see that when I go back to the old Madone here. It's much more of a U shape on the bottom of the down tube here. And like I said, I don't know why Trek have gone this way, but it's the way that they've chosen to go, and clearly it must work for their newer bike setup. The next thing I've noticed at the front is this kind of chop-in shape, so you can see how it really gets sharp right on the front edge, and once again that's not the best paint job to show it, so I'm going to go to this one where you can see it's got kind of a squinted nose on the front there, so that front edge is a little bit narrower, and I guess they can guide a bit more air over the bike that way. You can really see that on the Gen 7 here. It's a lot less defined, there's a lot less sharp edges. It's more like a stronger jawline on the newer head tube here. The head tube also isn't as deep. If I try and get like a side-by-side video here, you can see the edges are much more pronounced on the new one. But the actual depth of the head tube just isn't as deep as the old Gen 7. Sticking with those tubes, you can of course see that this is also much shallower, sticking with their normal system where you bolt on the back here, and you bolt there to adjust the saddle height and stuff. I actually don't like the position of this here because I find it gets filled up with crud and dirt, so you have to clean it all the time, especially if you want to adjust your saddle height. Not that you'll be doing that very often if you own the bike. You really can see that a lot more here on this old Gen 7, where the seat post is a lot deeper, and I guess Trek found they could probably save a bit of weight here whilst maintaining aero. The seat stays as well, of course, they are much narrower, much slimmer, but they've got quite a nice shape to them. They are slim on the front and the leading edge here, and well, you can't really talk about the Trek models without talking about the hole in here. This has definitely got smaller, but I think in a positive way, so you've still got that really cool, unique shape, but it is a smaller hole. So I think on the other version, it looks kind of long in this section here. It kind of keeps going. And when I say long, I'm going to try and draw some arrows on the section where I think this older Gen 7 model looks a little bit asymmetrical, whereas this one is a bit more symmetrical. I think it adds to the attractiveness of the bike. Let me know what you guys think. I know this is quite divisive, and a lot of reviewers hate this part because they wonder about the structural integrity of it, but clearly working as they're still going with it. The depth of the seat stay has also shallowed as well. It's very deep on the original Madone here. And you can see that depth here on the Gen 7. It looks much more pronounced, kind of hugs higher up onto the wheel, and it's just got more depth to the overall system. But it does still have that cutout, kind of like how Specialized SF7 has, and well, how a lot of time trial and aero bikes have now as well. The next thing I'd like to point out in the frames is the bottom bracket. So if I draw your eyes to this one, you can see just how much material is there on that bottom bracket. But when you look at the new one here, it's much more traditional. And well, this space isn't filled in, which normally you're seeing a lot more. Like if you look at the new Pinarello, that space is filled in. It looks more like that bike, but on this one, it's not. It is quite wide and chunky, so I suspect it still has the stiffness there. One last thing to point out on this bike, it now has up to 35, well, it's stated at 32, but honestly, You could probably definitely fit a 34 in there, maybe 35 if you want, especially on the back. You've obviously got loads of clearance on there. The real restriction is on the front, but yeah, for me on a road bike, any narrower or any wider than a 30 is probably a little bit too wide, but it depends on your own personal riding conditions, of course. Finally, finishing off the normal Bontrager airless wheels, 50mm of depth, the most versatile, keeping the weight down but keeping the aero up. And well, they're Bontrager owned by Trek, and the wheels of course suit this bike. And I think as a whole, these tan sidewalls on the Bontrager tyres fit the chrome of this bike as well. This is a sexy one. One thing I really do want to talk about on this bike is they have the new RSL bottle and cage. So this is something like Cannondale and I'm sure other brands are going to be doing, but the bottle is there to fit the tube shape, kind of like how I have on my Orbea, where they've designed the bottle to fit with the bike, and clearly that's what they've done here as well. They've designed the bottles to be hidden behind the down tube, and well, it's a great idea. A lot of people are going to question, does this work with a normal bottle? And the answer is a very clear yes. So you slide that in there and it just works exactly like a normal bottle cage. It doesn't sit at the bottom like this one does, but if you want, normal bottles go in there, no problem, which the versatility makes it great. If you ask me, I think these bottles are where Trek are claiming most of their aero advantages. So probably with these bottles, it is as quick as the old Gen 7. Without these bottles, I don't know. One thing I will say, these are definitely a new handlebar for Trek. Slightly shallower here. This is more rounded. It's still quite narrow, but it's flatter on the original model. I'm going to overlay a picture of that as well. If we go back to the previous generation here, you can see that it's not a massive change. It's just a little bit more circular. It's just a little bit less flat on top, and there's a bit more depth to the frontal area of it. But yeah, much more like a normal shaped handlebar rather than going for the big depth. I find that quite interesting. It is actually a lot deeper on the front, so it is much more of a rounder shape, but not as flat. And what Trek is saying at the moment is because it kind of like creates like more turbulence for the air to go around the rider. I'm not sure how true that is, but apparently they're looking at the rider bike system as a whole with these bars. On the bars, the next feature they've gone for a flare. So it's only like 1 centimeter wider on each side. Some people like the flare, some people don't. So that's a choice for you if you like the flare or not. So here it is. Of course, this is the full bells and whistles, the full Trek Project One SL9 version. It comes in this sweet chrome paint job with this kind of like pink back here. And I'm going to talk about the paint job first because I actually love this thing. And of course, being a new bike, there's going to be new paint jobs coming in. So let's go through the range real quick. Kicking it off, this is your kind of bottom of the range 105. It comes in at £3,250 there. Not bad for 105, but of course you get like a normal aluminium bar setup and normal aluminium rims. And then we bring it back up to the next level here. You get to the SL6, and basically the main upgrade there is you're still going for 105, but you then have a carbon rim to probably reduce weight, bit of aero as well, and more paint job options. Then we bring it up to the SL7. Of course, price is going up, but so are the options. So you do get an aero bar, kind of like Specialized do, more of a two-piece aero bar and stem. And then you're going up to that 50mm depth on the wheels there as well. So you're starting to get a little bit more. This paint job kind of reminds me of the Cannondale paint job, but it's a bit too orange, that one for me. Not my style, this paint job. I just want to run through the colors of the other bikes here. So you've kind of got this deep, I don't know, I'm going to call it marine blue. I'm sure on the website it's different there. Red, similar kind of vibe. It's got a lot of depth to it, these colors, and well, it's quite attractive to the eye. Then on all of the rest of the bikes, not the top end ones, you have this chop on the back here, and it kind of hides the hole a little bit, but I would rather exacerbate this area. This is the one I call the coolest feature of the bike, and I would keep that visible really if it was up to me. So not a personal fan of the matte on that section, but I'm sure some people are going to love it. And I've just been told by the guys at the shop here, if you're going with the SL9 models, so the higher ends where you're doing a Project One, it's always worth going Project One. as you can kind of customize the seat tube length. So if you need a higher one, you can get more seat tube length. You can also customize the stem length and the bar width as well. So that is also an option if you want to go for that. One thing to note with this paint job, if you want this one specifically, it's like £2,000 more. So whether you can justify that or not is up to your bank account. I don't think I could, but I'm sure there are other beautiful paint jobs out there for this bike that don't cost that much. This one here does come spec'd with a new SRAM. Haven't personally had a chance to use it, but there's loads of videos out there on the new SRAM, and this is, well, it does look very good. I think especially the SRAM fits better with the lighter silver and the chrome on this paint job. And I think if you were getting the Shimano, you would probably want a different paint job on this bike as it would fit better. They have released their new top of the range tyre with this bike as well. So a few new features. It is tubeless ready and compatible with hookless rims, which is quite a nice feature if you like to ride hookless. Personally, I like to hooked rim. 320 TPI cotton thread count, so should be a pretty fast rolling tyre. It does have a protective undersheath as well in the middle, so it should help prevent tyres. You would have to get your hands on them to know if that's true or not. But the final interesting feature about these new tyres is, well, you've of course got the flat normal tread in the middle for faster rolling resistance, and then on the shoulders when you're tipped over, they've of course got like two different compounds. So you've got the normal straight compound like Vittoria have, and then you have even more knobbly on the sides there, and that's just of course for grip when cornering, I guess when cornering in the wet. But there's some interesting stuff about the new tyres. Well, here it is, the weigh-in. This is a size, well, medium-large, which comes in around 56, and it is weighing 7.66 kilos. That is without pedals. It does have bottles and bottle cages plus the mount, but they are a very small part of the weight. And honestly, 7.6 kilos for this kind of range with that group set on it, that's a pretty hefty bike. I'm still not impressed by the weight of the Madone. I'm going to do my absolute best to get one to test and review, and that way I can check all the categories to see exactly how it rides. So stick around and see if I can get my hands on one of these bikes to ride. I would like to talk about the pricing for Trek, because the pricing has changed and it's become more in line with other bikes. So this bike used to be £10,200. That's for the SLR7, so the kind of Ultegra SRAM Force level bike. £10,200 for Ultegra, way too much. But the new ones, not that one, these ones, even the SLR7 with the one-piece handlebar comes in at about £8,250 or £8,500. More in line with Specialized, more in line with a lot of other bike brands, still quite a lot of money. But with that, you get a bike that you don't need to upgrade anything. You've got the one-piece stem, you've got the DI2 group set, you've got the wheels, you've got the tyres that come with it. So you're getting an all-in-one bike for that. And of course, you can go onto the website, you can customize loads of stuff. So for 750 quid, you can get a new paint job. For only an extra 60 quid, you can get a ceramic speed bottom bracket, you can change the tyres, the handlebar width, the handlebar stem length. So there's loads of options, and I think Trek do that the best on their website in terms of customization.
Yeah, I think it's great looking bike. I think it does the trick of combining the Monda and the Madone. Also follows the pattern of Specialized of combining the two bikes in one. Don't really like the color. I think I really like the little one, the professional team one. So just my personal preference.
So there it is, the brand new Trek Madone, and it's definitely a case of mixing the Madone and the Monda together. The guys here at the shop have told me that they're still getting the aluminium Mondas, but they're not getting any more carbon ones. So I suspect this is going to be a replacement and a shrinkage of their fleet size. But like I said, the all-in-one bike is a better way to go for me personally. I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. See you in the next video.